Well, as we get deeper into the month of December, very many things are coming to a conclusive beat. We know that USE examinations are coming closer to the end, and of course, we also know the year is coming closer to an end. Well, for you as a person, what's coming to an end for you as we are trying, to cross all the T's and dot all the I's in this month of December? Good morning, Uganda. It is the 6th day of this very month of December, and the year is 2022. And again, well, today is Tuesday, the second day. My name is Philomena. Mastiko. Quite a lot is still happening. We still do have, our fight being fronted as we are trying to make sure that we rid ourselves of the Ebola virus. But also, there is quite again a lot happening on all fronts, socially, economically, politically. Well, that is just at least here in Uganda, but also outside Uganda, things are getting tougher. Down there in South Africa, Ramaphosa being put up in a place of pressure right from the ANC party, but also the opponents who believe that this man does not deserve to be where he is amid the corruption scandal that has been the talk of the town for the last couple of days. What's his fate? We're here to find that out as well. Well, a lot is happening on the globe, a lot is happening on the African continent when it comes to the East African bloc. My, oh my. Well, I also know that my colleagues over here have something to say, and I'm speaking of Felix Nkunda, Mollen, Kenyena, and Robert Kirabo, Nyonyintono. I've heard recently that he's now a doctor. What I don't understand is a doctor for what? Well, maybe later on we'll be able to explain that. But good morning, Robert.
Hello, good morning to you.
How are you doing?
I'm very fine. Just thanking God for the gift of life and the fact that I am here this morning, where maybe some have woken up and they are unable to make it, but also very grateful to our viewers who wake up every weekday to kickstart your day with us, because we have a fully packed show where we inform you of what is happening locally, internationally, but also some light moments here and there. Well, Philo, I love that. Some people think I am, but anyway, that is a topic for another day. How Kirabo Robert becomes doctor.
I will be demanding for a full explanation as to why you're now being called doctor. But we'll figure that out. Well, Felix, good morning. How are you doing on this Tuesday?
Well, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm lovely.
I'm here to find out what's with the raid, you and Bob. I don't know if you're still doing the thing of
marching codes.
Well, no, not really. This AIDS awareness thing. Oh, that makes lots of sense. Yeah. Love is good. It's a good one. But good morning to you guys and probably to all our viewers out there. Yesterday was one of those good nights.
Yes.
I watched a very nice soccer game.
Okay.
When Brazil was, I don't know if it was walloping or disciplining or I don't know. You can call it whatever you want, but it was a lovely game. I saw the real Brazil football that I've taken some good time without seeing.
Okay.
And of course the celebrations and the dances, it was a good one. I actually didn't even have to finish the match. My daughter kept on saying, "Daddy, I think we need to go to bed." I'm like, tell you what, we need to go to bed. Yeah, the boys have, I left the game at about 80 something, so I said,
yes.
No. But, Philo, today is Wednesday. Is it Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Yes. And there's this thing, I just wanted to find out from you. Like, what is that one thing that someone has done and they have annoyed you, like, and you got it so pissed that it's never left your mind? Is that one thing you remember?
No, I don't have one thing. I have many things.
Okay, I hope I'm not part of.
I have a list. I keep checking. I keep checking every time I get over something. I'm like, okay, this.
Yesterday I met somebody and they had this. I didn't know people can keep rage for a long time. Ooh. So I thought maybe I'll ask my colleagues. I know one person who I'm sure has kept something. My neighbor in the east, but I know it's written all over her. But
well, good morning.
It's a very good morning, and well, Felix just has an issue with me. but I'm not who he thinks I am, and who is trying to make me look like I am a good person. Well, a very good morning to you, our family out there. Felix, it's interesting how we're getting a feel of World Cup just, you know, in the around the last stages. But I was almost throwing in a towel when it comes to African nations. But guess what? I still have my hopes on Morocco. I've seen the way they played, and I have my hopes. Look, we might think Spain, yes, this is Spain. But if you have seen Morocco play this season, I am telling you, they could actually scoop that win. I still have my hopes up for them.
Somebody say they are so intentional in their playing.
They haven't lost any game. That is one.
No, amongst the African nations, really.
Yeah, and they have actually been doing well. Well, they probably might not take the trophy, but I'm telling you, it's possible that Morocco could be going into the quarterfinals. I am telling you. I still have my fingers crossed. I have my fingers crossed. I know Felix has already made his decision when it comes to supporting Brazil. He didn't even have to wait for the entire game. He was like, no, Brazil is already there.
Mollen, did you watch the game of Senegal?
It's not yet time. Yes, you might say it's not yet time. But you must appreciate a good game if you see players on the pitch. I'm telling you, we were all supporting Senegal. Well, they are the champions. They took AFCON. But I'm telling you, judging from what Senegal...
Speak for yourself,
Africa, well, it might not be the two of you, clearly.
For Senegal.
Except me and Philo were supporting.
Thank you.
Those guys played
a lot. Okay, let me just talk in majority. A lot of Africans were rooting for Senegal because, of course, we did trust them. They were the champions. They are the champions still. But if you look at the game that Morocco plays and the game that Senegal plays, telling you, my bets would be on Morocco, and it will be no surprise if they end up beating Spain into the quarterfinals.
Let me tell you a funny thing, something funny. If you watch the game of Senegal, you know, when a team has the urge to win, you see it from the way they play. Senegal didn't even play a quarter of intentional football.
Yes.
They couldn't chase the ball, they couldn't tackle. At least if you can't chase, tackle someone. Let someone get injured. No one even got a scratch.
I think the coach really, the coach.
Can we say the same story?
We used to think until they play, we can't say. But one thing I know for sure.
No, but if you have seen them play this, I'm telling you,
I've seen Senegal play.
Yeah, but Senegal off the bat, they were doing really bad. I am telling you, there is the way Senegal, it even got lucky last time to even get into the last stages, I am telling you. Okay. But you look at the way Morocco has been very intentional. They have been very active on the pitch, and that is something that we can hope for. But you see, it's also something to do with African football. We are not aggressive enough. We get into the pitch, I don't know whether it's fear of these big teams, but we're not intentional. And I looked at Senegal, it's as if they didn't want the win. They had bigger chances there. But now, we know Morocco wants the win. They actually want that. And they know a lot of Africans are looking at them.
You know what? I also want the win for them.
Enough. Yeah,
I want the win for them. Enough. I want the win for them.
Well, our fingers are crossed for
absolutely. These gentlemen here have their own issues with our African teams.
For me, there is one thing I learned.
Yes.
It can't rain soda. No, it will rain water. And unless it rains soda, Africa football, it is still it's not yet time.
Yes.
For an African team to go
Why? What makes you say that? What makes you
look at the football they play?
Yes.
Now talking about Morocco, Spain, my friend, I think a camel will pass in the hole of a needle. If that
you will swallow your words.
Well,
anyway, as my sister,
yes.
When you're down.
So you're ready to lift us up when we are low.
Definitely.
It's all right, it's okay, absolutely. But hey, they're doing what they're doing. At least they have represented. I shouldn't say that we should be happy with that, but if it's the reality, then we can go with that. And speaking of realities, UNEB also came out to officially announce that they are beginning on the marking process of the PLE. Okay, those are the primary leaving examinations that was set just a couple of weeks ago by our candidates, or maybe senior ones right now, if I'm being all optimistic. I don't know how that's going to go, but we can't wait to see what will come out of the results when they are officially in. It is Good Morning Uganda. Well, we do go around through our stories locally and internationally, and again, I don't know, but also speaking of that, I don't know if you've been following up on the story that has been happening down there in South Africa when it comes to Cyril Ramaphosa. Things have been quite hard and tough on this man, facing quite a lot of backlash amid this corruption scandal, or if you call it that, about the money that was taken from his farm, having bounties of cash on his farm. Now, first of all, is that a legal thing? And also, seeing as there are many people who would want an impeachment process to be taken on him, is that possible? And again, I've been also following up on a couple of things, and South Africans are not comfortable with the fact that if this man actually decided to leave or to resign or be impeached, what would be the future of South Africa? Because he's like the first man South Africans have had hope in. I don't know how you feel about that.
If South Africans can remember, I think he didn't learn from history. How did Jacob Zuma leave office? Remember, it was his party that had a vote of no confidence after still corruption allegations, where he spent billions allegedly to build his home, luxurious home. So how different is it? Because it's all about embezzlement, misuse of public funds. And when we see Cyril Ramaphosa going down the same lane, I'm not surprised, because for South Africa, if the ANC says no, brother, according to this, that, and remember yesterday he said now it was his fate was in the hands of the leadership of his political party. So I think South Africans have gone through this before, during Jacob Zuma, and in case it happens, they'll still find a way, because precedent was already set. So I don't see any problem with that. The only problem would be actually now, the ANC, they'll just look at the ANC, who are you producing? When you let Jacob Zuma go, this is what you brought for us. Now this is the same. And I'm happy that this is going to teach people in South Africa that take positions of leadership, that the system can wallow, the system can kick you out.
For
so
me,
better come clean.
Yes, what makes my understanding though is that even in this ANC, we have divisions. There is a bigger percentage of the members who would actually want this man to continue and even probably come back for the second term when the elections in 2024 come through. But then there is also another faction in the same party that believes, no, this man doesn't have the capability. I mean, why would we be having divisions in a party like that?
But by the way, my concern are probably not even the fact that we have people in the party that are still voting for him, but what could break out in South Africa. I think we did see a lot of riots when he was arrested in the first place, Ramaphosa, meaning that we could be looking at a similar thing. And this was a riot that almost took over the whole of Johannesburg, extending even to Durban. People lost their businesses. And could we be looking at a similar thing even happening right now? Because amidst all that, he also has supporters that are willing to take it to the streets and demand for justice. According to them, it is okay for their president, a man in power, to probably use the money the way he did, and they are not seeing that as a problem. I'm not surprised. You're always going to have supporters that are on every side, wrong or bad. For them, they're just supporting whoever they put in office, and these are the kind of people that we should be looking out for. Otherwise, we could be looking at another riot and an extended one for that in South Africa.
Well, things are a bit hard and tough over there in South Africa, but what's the fate? We are bound to find out as the days go by. Well, back here in our Uganda, what's happening? The stories. Robert, what do you have for us this morning?
So much is happening, so much news. As also remember, the Medical Association also don't know the fate of their president. But I'll give you some of the stories that were in our news bulletins. That is yesterday evening, where we have Uganda Alcohol Policy Alliance is calling upon MPs to enact the National Alcohol Control Rule and curb the diverse effects of alcohol in the country. This was revealed during the 3rd Uganda Alcohol Policy Conference under the theme Uganda Free from Alcohol Harm, that was held in Kampala.
Now, the International Crimes Court in Kololo has set the 20th of February 2023 to proceed with the pre-trial hearing of the case against the National Unity Platform, Legislator Muhammad Segirinya and Alan Sewanyana of murder and terrorism, attempted murder, among other offences. Now, this was due to the absence of the trial judge, Lady Justice Alice Chomhanji, as communicated by the Registrar of the Court, Pamela Lamun.
Moving on, Uganda police has urged politicians to avoid politicizing matters of security. The police spokesperson, Fred Enanga, told the media that politicians must go through the right channels regarding matters of Sheikh Yahya Mwanje, who was arrested recently. This follows Muslim legislators threatening to demonstrate if Mwanje is not produced by security.
Well, at least 53,575 candidates have started examinations in 113 Nyonyintono accredited examination centers, and the Executive Secretary, Uganda Nurses and Midwives Examination Board, Helen Mukakasira Akatarambi, told UBC at UNAM offices in Tinda that materials were dispatched in time.
Well, crossing over, Russia has fired a barrage of missiles at targets across Ukraine for the 8th time in 8 weeks. Significant disruption to the power grid was reported, mainly in the east. Now, in the south, Odessa was without power. Ukraine says 4 people were killed. But the strikes, which came nearly 2 weeks after the last, may have done less damage than on previous occasions. Ukraine says it shot down 60 of the 70 missiles fired by Russia. Moscow says it hit all 17 of its targets. Now, in his video address late on Monday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the strikes had also hit electricity supplies in neighboring Moldova. This once again proves that Russia's ability to carry out such massive terrorist attacks is a threat not only to Ukraine, but also to our entire region. Previous Russian attacks have hit Ukraine's energy grid, leaving millions without electricity and heat as winter arrives. Now, if you want to know what the government's COVID plan is in China, look at what it does rather than what it says. Take Beijing, for example. There's not been a significant drop in infections, yet public transport now no longer requires a PCR test result. Bars and restaurants are slowly reopening, and in some cases, people are being allowed to isolate at home after catching COVID instead of going into centralized quarantine facilities. From Tuesday, test results are no longer needed to go into supermarkets, office buildings, and some other public venues. So when you examine what is happening here right now, the trajectory seems clear. The government appears to have quietly dumped zero COVID as a goal. This does not mean that all COVID-related restrictions have ended. You still need to have taken a test in the past 48 hours to get into hospitals, schools, restaurants, and gyms, for example. It also does not mean some restrictions won't be around in, say, half a year.
Away from that, leaders in South Africa's governing party have backed President Cyril Ramaphosa as he faces corruption allegations and a possible vote in parliament on impeachment. He came to power pledging to tackle corruption, but has now been caught up in his own crisis. An independent report said Mr. Ramaphosa may have broken the law by allegedly covering up a theft at his farm. He has denied any wrongdoing, and his spokesman said the report was flawed. The report, which was commissioned from a panel of legal experts by the Speaker, is due to be debated in Parliament on Tuesday, and the African National Congress ANC leadership has said it will tell its MPs who form the majority to vote against its adoption. This came after Mr. Ramaphosa challenged the report in the country's constitutional court. EU chief flags concerns about Biden's Buy America climate plans. Now, the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen stressed the need to adjust EU state aid rules, argued for European funding for a European industry policy, and insisted on upholding cordial relations with the US ahead of biennial consultations. Now, the Biennial Trade and Technology Council has become an exchange forum for trade issues between the EU and the United States since its launch in June 2021. Relations between the partners are at a low following the EU outrage in the face of the Inflation Reduction Act, a $369 billion clean industrial policy package going into the meeting that was yesterday. Now, she singled out three aspects of the IRA, the Buy America logic that underpins parts of the subsidy scheme, tax breaks for companies producing in America, and production subsidies that could lead to subsidies race. This would have real effect in companies' choice of production location. We have all heard the stories of producers that are considering relocating future investments from Europe to the US, she added.
Well, you'll be getting more updates and more information coming in from the weather and climate segment from Mollen much later on here on Good Morning Uganda. But for now, your daily reminder, your daily dose of your health. What have you done for your health this morning, or what do you plan to do for it, of course, as the festive season is approaching?
Well, we need to build our own country. So buy Uganda, build Uganda. When you buy any of these bottles, you're indirectly contributing to your nation's development, because this is made in Uganda, and whatever comes out benefits Ugandans. No profit repatriation. So above that, also these drinks are very healthy because they boost your immune system. At just 1,500, you get either Hallelujah Ginger Tea, Hallelujah Banana Drink Juice, or Hallelujah Tamarind Drink. Now, you save on the monies you'll be spending in hospitals or on treatment, but also your body will be more productive because it will be healthy. Well, enjoy the festive season by guaranteeing your health. And if you want to do that, consume these products.
Good morning, Uganda. Still going on. We're going in for a break, and also the song of the day to give you some inspiration, to give you some solace if things are not going on well in your life right now. When we get back, we'll be having some more talks in our newsreel. Make sure you stay with us and onto our social media platforms as well to follow up and let us know what you think about whatever it is we're going to be having up for the discussion. Good Morning returns shortly after this break.
Live.
Well, as we get deeper into the month of December, very many things are coming to a conclusive bit. We know that USE examinations are coming closer to the end, and of course, we also know the year is coming closer to an end. Well, for you as a person, what's coming to an end for you as we are trying, to cross all the T's and dot all the I's in this month of December. Good morning, Uganda. It is the 6th day of this very month, December, and the year is 2022. And again, well, today is Tuesday, the second day. My name is Philomena Mastiko. Quite a lot is still happening. We still do have, our fight being fronted as we are trying to make sure that we rid ourselves of the Ebola virus. But also, there is quite again a lot happening on all fronts, socially, economically, politically. Well, that is just at least here in Uganda, but also outside Uganda, things are getting tougher. Down there in South Africa, Ramaphosa being put up in a place of pressure, right, from the ANC party, but also the opponents who believe that this man does not deserve to be where he is amid the corruption scandal that has been the talk of the town for the last couple of days. What's his fate? We're here to find that out as well. Well, a lot is happening on the globe, a lot is happening on the African continent when it comes to the East African bloc. My, oh my. Well, I also know that my colleagues over here have something to say, and I'm speaking of Felix Nkunda, Mollen, Kenyena, and Robert Kirabo, Nyonyintono. I've heard recently that he's now a doctor. What I don't understand is a doctor for what? Well, maybe later on we'll be able to explain that. But good morning, Robert.
Hello, good morning to you.
How are you doing?
I'm very fine. Just thanking God for the gift of life and the fact that I am here this morning where maybe some have woken up and they are unable to make it. But also very grateful to our viewers who wake up every weekday to kickstart your day with us, because we have a fully packed show where we inform you of what is happening locally, internationally, but also some light moments here and there. Well, Philo, I love that. Some people think I am, but anyway, that is a topic for another day. How Kirabo Robert becomes doctor.
I will be demanding for a full explanation as to why you're now being called doctor. But we'll figure that out. Well, Felix, good morning. How are you doing on this Tuesday?
Well, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm lovely.
I'm here to find out what's with the raid, you and Bob. I don't know if you're still doing the thing of...
Marching girls.
Well, no, not really. This AIDS awareness thing. Oh, that makes lots of sense. Yeah. Love is good. It's a good one. But good morning to you guys and probably to all our viewers out there. Yesterday was one of those good nights.
Yes.
I watched a very nice soccer game.
Okay.
When Brazil was, I don't know if it was walloping or spinning or I don't know. You can call it whatever you want, but it was a lovely game. I saw the real Brazil football that I've taken some good time without seeing.
Okay.
You know, and of course the celebrations and the dances, you know, it was a good one. I actually didn't even have to finish the match. My daughter kept on saying, Daddy, I think we need to go to bed. I'm like, tell you what, we need to go to bed. Yeah, the boys have, I mean, I left the game at about 80 something, so I said
yes.
No. But Philo, today is Wednesday. Is it Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Yes. And there's this thing I just wanted to find out from you. Like, what is that one thing that someone has done and they have annoyed you, like, and you got it so pissed that it's never left your mind? Is that one thing you remember?
No, I don't have one thing. I have many things.
Okay, I hope I'm not part of.
I have a list. I keep checking. I keep checking every time I get over something. I'm like, okay, this.
You know, yesterday I met somebody and they had this. I didn't know people can keep rage for a long time. Ooh. So I thought maybe I'll ask my colleagues. I know one person who I'm sure has kept something. My neighbor in the east, but I know it's written all over her. But
well, Mollen, good morning.
It's a very good morning, and well, Felix just has an issue with me, but I'm not who he thinks I am, and who is trying to make me look like I am a good person. Well, a very good morning to you, our family out there. Felix, it's interesting how we're getting a feel of World Cup just, you know, in the around the last stages. But I was almost throwing in a towel when it comes to African nations. But guess what? I still have my hopes on Morocco. I've seen the way they played, and I have my hopes. Look, we might think Spain, yes, this is Spain. But if you have seen Morocco play this season, I am telling you, they could actually scoop that win. I still have my hopes up for them.
Somebody say they are so intentional in their playing.
They are. They haven't lost any game. That is one.
No, amongst the African nations, really.
Yeah, and they have actually been doing well. Well, they probably might not take the trophy, but I'm telling you, it's possible that Morocco could be going into the quarterfinals. I am telling you. I still have my fingers crossed. I have my fingers crossed. I know Felix has already made his decision when it comes to supporting Brazil. He didn't even have to wait for the entire game. He was like, no, Brazil is already there.
Mollen, did you watch the game of Senegal?
It's not yet time. Yes, you might say it's not yet time. But you must appreciate a good game if you see players on the pitch. I'm telling you, we were all supporting Senegal. Well, they are the champions. They took AFCON. But I'm telling you, judging from what Senegal...
Speak for yourself,
Africa, well, it might not be the two of you, clearly.
Except me and Philo was supporting.
Thank you.
Those guys played.
Okay, let me just talk in majority. A lot of Africans were rooting for Senegal because, of course, we did trust them. They were the champions. They are the champions still. But if you look at the game that Morocco plays and the game that Senegal plays, telling you my bets would be on Morocco, and it will be no surprise if they end up beating Spain into the quarterfinals.
Let me tell you something funny. If you watch the game of Senegal, You know, when a team has the urge to win, you see it from the way they play. Senegal didn't even play a quarter of intentional football.
Yes.
They couldn't chase the ball, they couldn't tackle. At least if you can't chase, tackle someone. Let someone get injured. No one even got a scratch.
I think
That's not
the
African
coach
football.
really, the coach.
In plantation alone, but these are just not these are not the only areas. We have seen also reports coming in showing vandalism that is happening in areas like Shema and in other areas here in Uganda. So it's not just tied up to one area. And also the Ministry of Energy has come out to report that just for the month of November, they've already lost a lot of material that has been vandalized worth 75 million Uganda shillings. Now this is the amount of money that is required to be able to replace all this that has been destroyed. This is just for only 1 month in November. Now you would be asking questions like, so what happens if we add up all the totals for the last couple of months? You know, because clearly I will be sharing with you again some more statistics showing how much Uganda requires right now to be able to put back whatever has been vandalized, to make sure that replacements are carried out. And by the way, we are talking about billion shillings. This is this is quite a big amount of money. But first things first, Robert, maybe just to give again an overview and probably a response to some of the questions that are popping up, what would ideally be giving the criminals the confidence to be doing something like this?
Well, first, these items, the electric poles, the towers, the wires, there is ready market for them. Because they will tell you these are being sold to scrap dealers. They are stolen, they are melted, then or put in any other form, and they earn a lot of money out of them. 2, they have not been caught. For a crime to be able to increase, 1, capacity of market, that the goods, let me use that word, that what you steal, there's a potential buyer. Because criminals will not continue vandalizing. Actually, for me, when we use the word vandalizing, I even find it's not the right word to use.
Yes.
Because someone vandalizing may simply mean destroying. I vandalize your car. You've parked it there. I'm like, I feel for a long time. Now I've got it. I come with a hammer. I smash the windows. I deflate the tires. I hit the body. Maybe I even remove the radios. I just leave things in a mess but destroyed. But what is happening is not vandalism. What is happening is trade, because there is market for what they are stealing. So, and they're not being caught, and that is a fertile ground for any crime. You have available market, and you can execute this crime comfortably. So, that is why it is on an increase. However, also the fact that we've not done the due diligence as 1, the body in this operation. 2, has security to also safeguard these items. Because 1, it was on the 13th of April, and I remember it was a Wednesday, this very year, when Parliament of Uganda passed the Electricity Amendment Bill 2022. Now, what this brought in line was that in case you're caught when you're vandalizing, or there is proof that you did vandalize, you have a 15-year jail sentence, or you pay 1 billion Uganda shillings. So the law is in place. That would mean how many Ugandans can pay 1 billion shilling in case you're caught. And recently there was a lorry that was impounded with these goods. 1 tower like this costs about 300 million. But someone comes from somewhere, says we need these kind of turbines that move up. They begin opening, load and go. We need these electric wires that are moving, and usually when you destroy 1 tower, it has an impact on others. So this is why I'm saying that we've not done enough. One, security. I want to tell you, I've seen this government, Philo, where they want to eliminate a certain crime, and they are determined they will do that. There was a time in Kampala here before they brought in Wembley, where people robbed the Crane Bank, Kampala Road, broad daylight. Guns people would rob broad daylight, no fear, no what. Came in Wembley, where are they? We had the massacre killings, you remember? Where people are like, what is happening? Panga yielding, these boys run like robots, run right. So we've lacked the will. We've seen murderers being tracked using these highway cameras. Now, the items you are talking about are not like a piece of paper or a mobile phone.
Yes.
No. These are big terminals. These are big poles. These are so many wires that you have to load. And you're not getting them from there. And the scrap dealer is here. They are moved. They are transported. They can easily be detected that this was stolen at night. Let's go and track the vehicles that flight this route.
Yes.
So, I'm not convinced enough, because we don't lack a law, but also we are lacking the word patriotism, love for one's country. Because when you steal these wires and sell them in scrap, when you steal these towers, destroy an entire tower.
Yes.
The same government that is working on rural electrification, instead of extending electricity or reducing the cost of a unit of electricity, they're again investing into infrastructure, which initially they had said, let's use this period of time to build the infrastructure that we need. But after you have the infrastructure, then we can look at how do you reduce electricity tariffs. So patriotism, now Ugandans it's no longer, we don't have a public good.
Yes.
It is all about me, my family. So with this continuous mentality, and finally, I highly doubt this is not an inside job. Okay. Because I want to tell you, some of these things, Anasa Mukasa cannot just come, get wires and cut. He doesn't know which line, how safe, how dangerous. Have you had anyone who was electrocuted while trying to steal? You go to a tower, you destroy it, an ordinary thief. Sometimes I'm left wondering.
Well, as we're still talking about this trend and impact of vandalism on this electricity subsector, according again to statistics that came out, Felix, maybe just to break it down a little bit, it was discovered that between Kachura sugarcane plantation and Musita, 58 transmission towers had been destroyed by vandals. Now, also 29 of the 58 towers had fully collapsed, with the majority of their parts stolen. And furthermore, a dozen towers were standing only on 3 legs, leaving them prone to tripping over or even under very strong windy conditions. Now, beyond Musita towards Mayuge, conductors and insulators were found to have also been vandalized in some sections. So in all, approximately 550,000 kilograms of tower parts have actually been lost in the Bujagali, Kachira, Musita, Mayuge section alone. Now,
ordinary people,
well, I mean, investigations and reports are still being carried out to see who does this. Because, again, I don't think it's just an ordinary person who can really go and, you know, because these things are really technical and dangerous. I don't think any normal person can decide to go and, you know, just climb this electrical tower or something to beat that. But now getting into the impact, if we continue seeing a trend like this, Felix, what's the worst that can happen at all fronts? I don't know. I mean, to a society, our budget here, bleeding money. What's the worst that can happen?
Well, it's what we are seeing already. The load shed, but it's become now a common thing for many parts of the city. Probably
every other day Umeme is giving outage alerts and all that.
Very funny excuses, though. Even I don't know how they but away from that, you see, Robert was talking about, he tried to rotate around the word patriotism, And that's the biggest problem of the Kampala dwellers, the corporate boulder roads, the guys who want to look at everything going on wrong here, that it is not being patriotic. But I'll tell you why some things happen the way they happen, in my opinion, though. One, whenever a country is built on individual architectural constructions and the lack of involvement of communities, for some of these places you see, electricity is in transit. It is not in usage. It may be hard for you to connect the price of electricity to such vandalism, by the way. But have you ever been with in a situation where you thought that you have a mind that is seemingly like, anyway, like, what do I have to lose?
Yes.
At the end of the day, people can't afford. Those, no, not everyone. You guys are okay. But the people who say, you know, we can't afford the electricity, it's actually expensive. And some of, you see, when you do criminology and penology, there's something we study called the criminal mind. What forms the mens rea, the intention. These are some of the things. The failure to be inclusive in a project can form someone's criminal mind. If I can't have it, why should they have it? That's one of.
Yes. He or she would rather the both on losing sides.
That's the thing.
Yes.
But also the lack of inclusion, direct benefit. How many people in this country directly benefit from electricity? It may seem far-fetched, but it's a reality. These young guys, these thugs who steal some of these things, have no use for power. So for them, they're trying to find something for themselves. That takes you back to what Robert is saying. This thing of patriotism, you people are preaching the right gospel to the wrong people. What is patriotism? Every time there's something wrong, that's when you bring out the card of patriotism. Why don't you bring out the card of patriotism when you're appropriating money in parliament? Is patriotism only for the people who are the wananchi, the seventh grade people? How about the first grade or the first class, you want to call them? In this country, patriotism is a word for the poor. The people who are doing bad. You're always telling them, be patriotic. How about the people who do the allocation? Why don't you think about some of these things? When the president brings in projects like wealth creation, why don't the people who implement this think about the word patriotism when they're stealing all these things?
I see why we need to preach also mindset change.
You understand? You see, well, I think...
Because,
yes, sir.
Because patriotism is one's love for their nation. But also that goes with, if they have the right thinking. Yes, you may not be benefiting from electricity. And I agree with my brother Felix here. I've been to these areas, and it is very hurting that most of these people, they only see wires bypassing them. It's not, it's speaking the truth.
Yeah.
But this power does not go to their homes. So, these may, and when they know that if you damage that, you're earning money.
Yes.
But I think if we ensure people have mindset change, that Uganda to get to where you want it, you may not be benefiting now, but time to come you'll benefit. The countries you talk about, they're all on the national grid, that that turban, this metallic thing you're cutting to sell in scrap is hindering progress of a nation. That when an investor comes, they will need the power,
and
where
you
maybe you work in that factory.
Yeah.
So we need to look also at mindset change.
You see,
away
Robert,
from just looking at the
the
criminality.
aspect of mind change is very true, but it is still at the top of the discussion. There are things we must address at the bottom. You see, vandalism, theft, criminality have one common element: lifestyle. which is informed by status, socioeconomic status. When you go to these other countries, there is theft and what? But there are things they honor.
Yeah.
Because they're directly benefit. One of the things any man, at least 60% of Ugandans should be directly benefiting from some of the things like electricity.
Directly,
not even someone's going to come. You see, these politicians sometimes they trade thuggery. Someone will come and say, "Nae company that is indirect." Those are some of the goods that should be available. Things like water. How can water be an option? Something for the rich? Look at electricity. Now to get a meter in your house, it costs about 730,000 per night. An average Ugandan, these things you're talking about, higher transmission, they're going to keep stealing these things because it is important for you, the cream. It is not important for them. Because for me to have electricity in my house, I have to part with 700, over 700, it's about 730, something like that. How many poor Robert can afford this? You're staying in a house where you're renting the house, maybe, about 70,000, 50,000.
Even in the urban centers you're talking about, go to most of these places, you see.
That's what I'm saying.
Elite. Actually, they are on illegal connections.
Yes. And then when you see women coming, last time I think they were eating wires are underground. But all that should, instead of informing our leaders that there's a problem we need to address, for them they are quick. Babi. You see, sometimes situations turn people into monsters. Today the people you're calling thieves, you're calling what? These were not born that. But the situation, and we have created us, the politicians, because of our bad and poor administration, has turned these young boys into thieves. Like in Uganda, we actually have a saying, when it's so hard on them, because they have very many children, sometimes you have to choose between whether to take someone's or survival. And I'm not condemning theft.
Neither are you being the advocate.
No. But you see, when we discuss such things, we want to hide our heads away from the reality. We have created a big socio-economic gap. And this has been brought about by poor and bad politicians. That's why when you talk about things like the halabalus of patriotism, that is selective.
It's only applicable to a group of people.
That's the thing. When the people are doing something wrong down there, they're having wrong ways of survival, they should be patriotic. Ugandans, they're really patriotic. Come on. Where is the patrioticness or patriotism for the big guys up there? Because this should be also evident in how resources are allocated. What programs do we have? When you go to Chisenyi, I'm privileged to spend some time there with many, but some people there. Those people have been there for the last 30 years. They are doing wonders, but who cares? Who cares, by the way? You can't go there to find out the potentials of some of the kids there in terms of mechanics. You know these things. You go to Katwe. You talk about value addition in this country. Every government program.
Yes.
Man, everyone is not going to be doing cows and chicken and goats. Let us be more intentional. But these people you see were turning out to be, even you can imagine, in fact you gave a good example. When people who actually open these things and screw them, are they engineers?
Yes, because that's what I was saying. I don't think an ordinary person, an ordinary Ugandan will actually just...
And that's what is it.
Yeah.
Like, you've never had someone being electrocuted when they are...
No,
so who's doing the job?
Yes,
these
they
kids
know
are just doing the selling kuiriba, what you call kuiriba.
Anyway, we're talking about vandalism and theft of electricity here in Uganda. It's been quite rampant. But also, let's talk about the law, Robert. We know, especially the Electricity Amendment Act of 2022, there are very many serious repercussions that were contained in this. At least we know that if you're a culprit or if you're a victim who has been caught stealing or even vandalizing any of that infrastructure, you're bound to face 15 years in jail, or maybe you could come through with 1 billion Uganda shillings, or even face both. But where is the power of the law in this issue, really?
You see, the law is as good as nothing if not implemented. And some of these things appear simple, but beneath them, there is so much volume and power. When you talk about people vandalizing this, and I want to say this, we may simply be talking about they are selling them to scrap dealers. I want to tell you, for the time I've spent in journalism, there is one thing I've observed. Never joke with any form of theft in this country. When these people are arrested, that is when you get to know how powerful they are. These poor police officers, these investigative officers, go through so much that sometimes the law cannot work. This is why you're going to get these young boys. They have vandalized this property. Felix called the IDB. You've gotten them red-handed. Where are you taking them? You take them to police. After 48 hours, you have to release them, or you'll be shocked who may come for them if you've not released them. They go through court because the punishment is heavy. Securing a conviction. Felix knows how these people in the law, legal fraternity can bring out legal techniques either to delay a case.
Because they want to drag it.
Yes. The magistrate. We have been to court several times, and sometimes I even wanted to hold a court register by callers. You know, they delay, or the law is very clear. Someone has to be proved guilty against reasonable doubt, isn't it?
In criminal matter.
Criminal matter. So getting the evidence, many times I've asked people, to what extent, if this one was found with these poles, with these wires, driving them, taking somewhere, they have gotten him. He says, Baba na abantu sebintu. We've been able to get them. Now, what? For us ordinary people who are not in this legal frame, we always ask, which someone has killed and the panga is holding. Then it is taking 9 years to sentence that person. Which kind of evidence do you want?
Because there is proof right there before you.
That's in your eyes.
No!
So there could be a story behind that. You see?
Those you see are at a police station.
Yes.
You get them. They arrested the person carrying them, transporting them.
Yes.
And we know we have the law.
And they've established that they are transporting them illegally.
They didn't wake up when they have been put in the yard of the police. There was a vehicle, there was a driver, the people they suspect to have. But you see, at the end of the day, no one gets that 15 years sentence or pays 1 billion. So our laws are the issue of investigation. Because first, we in Uganda, we arrest criminals by them.
Yes.
But taking them through our legal procedure to secure a conviction is something very hard because of corruption, because of connections, we must be very honest, and sometimes selective justice. Actually, in most of the crimes you see that they have arrested someone and they bring that conviction, some are either sacrificial lambs.
No, but
Look at the fight against.
Just
a minute, Felix. Look at, I just want to give an example. Look at corruption. The IGG says this money disappeared from here. They gave you our money. Where is it? So, these Ugandas, these land friends, must have done a disservice to this
but
nation.
Is it entirely up to them? I mean,
because I'm telling you, I'm speaking about to be an ordinary man.
Yes.
What is the connection of the lawyer to stealing?
No.
The lawyer is probably
supposed to be assisting
but we have the lawyer.
Actually, lawyers are supposed to be assisting the court. But lawyers defend criminals.
Is it the lawyer
that
or
is why I told you, are you being an advocate? Because I saw the advocacy.
No, and I know, I'll tell you why I said what
Felix.
I said.
Yes.
You see me, let me say it in Virginia, let me go traditional. I wasn't raised to butter the bread and what. I was raised to take head on things. One, I'm not going to take blame for people's vulgarism. Okay? Every country has electric transmission.
Because they know you, if you're caught, you'll be prosecuted.
How is that my problem? Secondly, the world has moved away from these methods of electric transmission, by the way, if you do some studies. One of the reasons is because these things are quite ancient.
You used to have poles.
You remember the time there was a big discussion about concrete poles?
Yes.
There was that discussion. Where did it end? You see, when you milk a cow and you don't want to feed it, behave you. We are paying heftily. We have paid with the leg, arm, now we are intestines. If a unit of electricity is 1,000, probably even now more. Sometimes you put 10,000, they give you 9. So probably sometimes it's more. Then they tell you, are you at the beginning of the month? That's nonsense.
They're giving you an extra bonus, yes. So they say, at the start of the month.
I was supposed to wait for the start of the month to purchase? You need to be serious. There is need in mid-month. So, because of all this...
But it's just children, your brothers and sisters that are causing this. Because we are moving forward, they're taking us backward.
No, let me say this.
Yes.
By the way, every time countrymen don't feel part of any project, they will not work with it. You put electricity at 100 shillings a unit. So, Kirabo, no muntu wawa afume mmere. Abere ebo tukufumbira kot ono. Naye, when people feel that all the weight of their socio-economic survival is on them, you know, today people, like, it seems like we are in a fight with our own political administration.
Yes.
Everything, starting from the potholes in this country. We are taking cars to garage every day, Philomena, every day. We are fed up of so many things.
People feel like they have
when
nothing
you go to
lose
stations,
anymore. Yes.
Look at the price of fuel. People are eating rice. You know, you remember the alternative for expensive food was what? Posho. How much is posho? Moment you people stop joking. All these things directly work into the mannerism of people. People start to feel they are on their own. And that's why they act in whichever way. Criminality increases because now we are going into a man-eat-man situation.
Yes.
You can't afford the basics of life. Why don't you take it?
I feel like we're in times where people...
That's why we must address... Sorry.
Yes.
We must address these things from the beginning, from the ground. We are looking at criminality increases because of the expenses of socio-economic welfare. People walk from Kampala, Kirabo to Kenyena every day. And they come in Kampala to earn 3,000 shillings. What can you buy with 3,000 shillings? You're not going to discuss criminality in isolation of socio-economic welfare. Let's be honest. This nonsense of patriotism, that's for
vandalism and theft of electricity.
But you'll be shocked when you find that
yes.
Actually people behind this, not the class Felix is talking about, the people who castrate, who come up with these minds, who are in this business, the people in the scrap dealers, and not the ordinary people Felix is using. Those ones just come at the tail end. You find
so are they being used?
You
they
find
are being
that
used by the
first setting up that mega in whatever industry or what that will recycle, will melt. The monies you need to do that are not 10, 20 million. So you find that the people that are making this go on are not the poor he's talking about.
So in other words, we are dealing, our administrators,
that's why I told
some
you,
of them could
crime
be
in Uganda is very sophisticated.
You know, they should go to Matuga. These things are melted here, Bachain. Let them put police there. But
you see, Felix, even if they put the police, we are not sure that they will do what they're supposed to do because they are also struggling.
The problem is that.
But even the community is also struggling.
Leave the community alone. I can't be thinking about what I'm going to feed my children. Good morning,
Uganda. Vandalism and theft of electricity is the topic for discussion this morning. How How do you think we can sort this issue? How can we stop the progress of this vice, of this crime? Because clearly it's costing the humans or victims or societies, but also Uganda as a country. But also, why do you think is the problem? Should we look at it from the socio-economic welfare perspective? Or maybe we just look at it from the non-patriotism, as Felix has decided to render it? Well, tell us what you think about that. We're going for a break. When we get back, more updates from traffic, climate and weather, and also the big stories in our papers. Good morning, Uganda.
Paying for groceries the old way.
3, 4, yeah.
Allow me.
Paying for groceries with the My Airtel app. You have the power in your pocket. The power to conveniently pay for goods and services. Unlock that power with the My Airtel app. Visit the App Store or Google Play now.
That's my wife.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here. In the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking to the taste of food that takes you on a journey. In the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth. In the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the Pearl of Africa.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome to the press review, and starting off with the Daily Monitor. Kagame Tshisekedi exchange hot words. Now, America issues yet its sternest warning to Kigali, with Secretary of State Anthony Blinken telling President Paul Kagame in a call that Rwanda should stop supporting M23 rebels, despite repeated official denials of the allegations initially leveled by Kinshasa and later the United Nations. And in the big picture, they're looking at the photo montage of DR Congo President Felix Tshisekedi and his Rwandan counterparts, Paul Kagame. Well, in more stories, court reduces life sentence to 20 years in jail, and Muslim MPs threaten demonstrations over arrests. Now, looking at medics move to boat leader over boat leaking. And police ask officers to go slow on sex workers. Looking at the second page of the Daily Monitor, Chambogore moves 8 names from graduation list. And of course, as the Vice Chancellor of the University, Professor Eli Katunguka and Mr. Anatoly Katungwensi, the Regional Police Commander of Kampala Metropolitan Eastern, were addressing this issue in a press conference yesterday. Over 5 million women benefit from AfriPads. And also looking at today in history, Amin warns Indians in Uganda.
And we cross over onto the New Vision. Hajat Sebiala saving planet with indigenous trees. That is climate champion right there, pages 33 and 35. Now they give you a big headline right there. 2026 polls, NRM stops early campaigns. Two factions causing contradictions in the party. That is a story on page 5. And the picture right there, soldiers tipped on serving God nation. And they give you more of that on page 6 of the New Vision. How serial kidnapper was shot dead, page 4. In education, 500 sub-counties to get new secondary schools. That is a story on page 3. Envoy to UK sleeps in a hotel. And in business, unregistered engineers kicked out of business, page 11. Crossing over onto the second page, youth acquire skills in oil and gas sector. They give you the beneficiaries as they speak out on this initiative and of course what is in there. Today in history, they take you back in 1989. Chiyonga gives up a house. That and more stories in today's paper.
Daily Monitor Sports, Africa's last hope. Making dreams, the Atlas Lions were the first ever country from the continent to progress to the knockout rounds when they topped their group in 1986. They now want to go one better. And of course, we're looking at Morocco versus Spain today. And you can get that full story on that. And still more in FIFA World Cup news. Croatia into last 8 with a dramatic 3-1 penalty shootout win after a tense 1-1 draw. And I can tell you that the Croatians right now are celebrating alongside a praying. Now, Swiss threaten Cristiano Ronaldo's dream, and Ronaldo faces an appeal task against Shaqiri's battling Switzerland today. How will that go? We are yet to find out and more. And Dr. Sekajugo triumphs at a Seniors Open, looking at, of course, the world of golf. That and many more stories in Daily Monitor this morning.
And the New Vision Sports also giving you your World Cup paper. Morocco is only Africa's hope right now, but also remember their neighbors with Spain, sharing both land and maritime borders. Now that is today's big game, talking about Morocco versus Spain. That will be at 6 p.m. But also a game between Portugal and Switzerland. Now the experts are weighing in on what the odds are, but also taking you back on what has been happening in Qatar, Croatia's night, why Ghana deserved to lose to Uruguay, Senegal taught a lesson, more of that, and also Cristiano Ronaldo upset with his manager. Now that is also an interesting story right there to catch up in the New Vision Sports.
Now crossing over to the Daily Nation, why besieged IEBC duo quits, we want out. Looking at criminal sanctions, looking at public ridicule and grilling, and also predetermined process, and also the headshots of the 3 talks about people. And also elections feud, tribunal informs the 4 of status conference this Friday. And still taking you to Gachagua, Kenyans to get all tenders under 1 billion Kenyan shillings. And from the business point, Kenya Power plans to issue bills in foreign currencies. Okay. And also simple gestures that keep the world going, in your opinion, this Daily Nation for this Tuesday. Now catch up on that and many, many more. Well, getting back to our topic of discussion that we had in the newsreel, we had a couple of people, Good Morning Uganda family members say something in regards to how we can actually cut down the progress of the ever-growing vandalism and theft of electricity and its infrastructure. Well, coming in from Councillor Kakumba from Luero Town Council, you're saying, hello UBC, Felix is very right. Vandalism and theft of power will stop so long as power is expensive to a level we have. Why preach nationalism to us, yet they are patriotism? Okay, I hope I got that right. And thank you so much for that, Councillor. We also do have some more feedback saying when we are still having the corrupted sector in Uganda, we are definitely going nowhere. Well, thank you for that. And Coming in from Bright, you're saying you had that at Umeme there was a whole department of supervision of all those polls, but again, it was later removed or stopped. So they are probably the ones who are trying to vandalize them such that the department can be back. Okay, well, let us know, continue giving us your feedback on how you think we can do this, how we can cut out this vice and probably move on to better solutions. Get onto our Twitter #UBCGMU, get onto our WhatsApp platform 0709-602-592 and give us your feedback and see where we can help when it comes to that, because at the end of the day we are all being affected in one way or another. Your taxes could be the same monies that are being used to replace, or even you falling short of power and going through the load shedding. But also taking you to the roads this morning, and the road situation around Nsambia, areas of Kabalagala, areas of Kololo and Chibuli. This morning I could say that the traffic is a little bit mobile, but also you need to be expecting it in a few places here and there, especially in the town centers. Looking at areas of Kabalagala, considering Gaba Road, which brings in quite a number of road users from the extended parts of Makindye division, that is Makindye looking at areas like Muyenga as you're coming closer to town. Gaba Road this morning has a few traffic hiccups here and there. You will be experiencing them as you're trying to find your way to town. And as you get closer to Kabalagala, definitely the traffic starts building up in a few spots again on several roads. Looking at areas of Chibuli, Chibuli is quite a very busy area. We do have very many businesses operating there, but we also do have very many road users, pedestrians, motorists and cyclists as well. So yes, you'll be expecting a few inconveniences here and there because the traffic is bound to happen as, of course, you're getting closer to the main parts of town. And also looking at areas around Nsambia, again, we do have traffic that is building up over there. So make sure that you get alternative routes if you can, but if you haven't yet, again, I could say you'll have to be exercising a little bit of patience on this road. Well, also getting into areas of Katwe Chibuye, again, traffic has already built up in these specific areas as you're joining again the main road and getting closer to City Square, Kampala, which is part of Kampala Road. And Kampala Road on the other side is already getting into the traffic mode, already seeing traffic building up, and again in some spots it's actually already heavy as you're getting into the middle of town. And again, as you're continuing all the way via Bombo Road, you'll be expecting again some traffic buildups over there, trying to connect to areas like Wandegea and the surrounding areas. So if you're coming in from these areas, well, I would be expecting you to be quite a very careful road user. Exercise again a little bit of patience and be very sane, or at least act like a sane person. And that's it from the traffic updates this morning. I now leave you to Mollen to give us more from weather and climate. Mollen, these days, I don't know, the rain has gotten a pattern. It's always raining at about 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. I don't know what's happening, but I like it. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. We now have rains that are coming in a little bit, over midnight, and most of those systems are actually starting to form around that time. Now, that is also normal for this time of the year, especially as we're about to transition from a rainy season into a dry season, and that is to be expected. But also, this is mostly common around areas that will have a local influence. You see areas around Lake Victoria. That means there is an effect of Lake Victoria. You also see areas around Mount Elgon, meaning that they also influence of the mountain, enhancing wet weather activities right there. And of course, it has a lot to do with temperatures at that time of the night. So that is why we're seeing more of those rains starting up, especially at that time. And most of those systems actually clear by the time it gets to really early 6 a.m. You're already seeing those rains clear. But we do expect that at least within much of the day, we might still see continuation of rainy conditions, especially if you're anywhere still around those areas, Lake Victoria, around Mount Elgon, also across Lake Choga. Those are areas that we do expect rains to continue. But otherwise, it is actually very dry in northern Uganda. I'll tell you, there are people who are in eastern Uganda, in Serere, areas of Kabera Maido, areas of Kotido, Moroto, that are complaining of the sun. They're wondering when the rains will come, and it's only getting worse because we don't see any good news when it comes to rains over that area.
Well, like I already said, the humankind is very insatiable. It's very hard to please. You will give them the rains, we'll get to a point where we feel like we just cannot deal with the rains anymore. And you give us the sun and we're still complaining. So what is what? At the end of the day, you have to, use whatever the condition is available to you, at least to the optimum level. If you can't, again, we're yet to figure that out. I will leave it at that and wish you a wonderful Tuesday morning. Mollen is obviously going to give us quite some more coming in from weather and give us the weather forecast later on for today, what to expect. Will it be raining? Will it be shining? Mollen is there to give you answers to all those questions. I am Philomena Mastiko. Have a great and lovely Tuesday morning and a productive day ahead.
Well, thank you very much, Philomena. Now, taking it from that, we also have bad news of heavy showers across most areas within Colombia. And right now, those have triggered landslides across several places. And we know of and reported incidents where a bus was buried by these landslides, and so far 34 people have been reported dead. We already have rescue operations on ground to ascertain the extent of the damage. What we do know from what the officials are giving out this morning, just a few hours ago, they are reporting that there could be still more people who are buried still within the bus underground because of the landslide. This was really a very bad area because you also see that it's a mountainous area. Now crossing over the road, that is what brought in a lot of incidences, especially with the fact that it has been raining for a couple of days. That means the land is unstable, and of course that is one thing that did trigger the landslide. They're also looking at a continuation of rains across most areas within Colombia, so they're still warning locals to be aware and also to avoid such ground, especially when you know that it has been raining for quite a couple of days. Away from that, we also know that there is a conference going on, especially with regards to trade, and that is between the European Union and the US. Now, what we do know so far that has come out from the meetings from yesterday is that the EU is actually also warning the US of having to go into connections with China being the biggest polluter, and they have gone unchecked as China. So what is actually needed is the fact that the EU should work together with the US to make sure that they can say something about what China is doing. They're looking at sustainability rules which are easier to apply, and now it is the top priority. Now, coming from COP27, the European Commissioner of Finance Stability, that is the lady Mairead McGuinness right there, she was speaking out saying that this is something that should be done with the joint efforts of the US Deputy Secretary of Treasury, of course, who has also been at the forefront of making sure that they have sustainability in trade. And right now they're looking at investments to inform investors of the new priorities. Of course, now the bloc is looking at the financial concerns, but also they want economies to reach the net zero emissions. The target is for 2050. And now they are saying if they do not actually get to this as quick as possible, it means that both the EU and the US would have failed, especially when it comes to looking for a net zero target. Now, in the sentences, according to the European Parliament, they are saying we will aim to publish over 200 frequent concerns with business, and of course reporting the obligations under the taxonomy that has been reached by both these two blocs. And of course that is where they are also bringing in a concern, saying that they have some of the biggest producers, of course, coming in from China, especially with steel industry, and they're saying that this is one thing that has been overlooked, both from the global concern we have in COP27, where Chinese are even not giving out their targets for this year. And of course they're saying that now it's either they act against it or we are going to still continue seeing China going more with unchecked commitments, especially when it comes to clean energy. Now, also the Interior Government or Department said that the Bureau of Land Management will also be looking at more investments for the US, and of course that is also one thing that was talked about during the conference. But as well, we do know that US has taken a big step, especially with the Inflation Reduction Act that did front climate climate change as one of the key issues to be looked at. But also the Biden administration yesterday did announce that they have progress to identify new areas of solar development, and they're looking at public land right now where they're going to put huge solar projects that will be based on access to transmission, solar energy potential, and protecting nature and cultural resources. This is a very big move, and of course you do see that most of these decisions coming in from the Biden administration have also had a lot of contradictions, especially with some of the Democrats and Republicans not being really forefront with climate action. But President Joe Biden did say that he will take this on whether they want or not, because he knows it is the right thing to do. As the US, they have a responsibility to protect the environment, but also to lead in investing in clean energy. Now, President Joe Biden did also say he wants to decarbonize the US electric grid by 2035, something that will require rapid deployment of large amounts of new solar projects, and of course especially looking at the congressional mandate to permit 25 gigawatts of renewable energy on federal lands by 2025. Now, this is something that he has already started on. When he talks about 2025, it means that some of the solar plants that are being put across right now are of course all aimed at making sure that this is a reality for the US. We also did see a couple of days ago, he did announce that they will be putting up charging places across all major routes in the US. And of course that is with regard to the fact that they have gotten into more electric cars. So that means that he's looking at a strategy where you could go a long distance and you still are able to get charging places even when you run out of charge for electric cars. That is something sustainable that the US has also embarked on, and now just a few days after making that announcement, he's also talking about solar energy. They're looking at catching up, especially when it goes to being 100% moving into renewable energy. That is one country that we have seen actually making its commitment and living up to the commitment, especially when you look at all the countries that came from Egypt just recently. We haven't seen a lot of them make swift changes, especially with moving towards renewable energy or that swift transition. Instead, we have also seen the EU right now, yes, because there is a trade conference and they know there are bilateral agreements that go on between the US and the EU. Yes, they are looking out for renewable energy, but we also know that they are the same people who have also continuously gone into practices like coal, still mining of coal. So as long as you still have coal production in your area or in your nations, then that also puts you at a zero level when it comes to going to transformation into renewable energy. And that has been quite a big concern when it comes to looking at these big nations that actually happen to also be the biggest emitters when it comes to climate change as well. We also want to take a look at what is happening back here at home and around the country. We're looking at satellite images coming through over Uganda, and of course looking at how we are starting up the day. We did start off with that rainy system across Lake Victoria. Now most of that has cleared into mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. We continue to see more clouds that are starting to develop across southwestern Uganda, and that is where we could also be looking at a little bit of rains developing for this morning. Areas of Mbara, as we speak, already covered with those cloudy conditions. We're looking at southwestern Uganda. We're looking at Kabale Highlands. We do have a little bit of rains in the area, but also those will be developing more as the morning progresses. We're starting off with also those cloudy weather, cloudy conditions for parts of Fort Portal, parts of Mubende. We're looking at mostly cloudy weather, but also that will be clearing as the day progresses. Now mostly a sunny morning for northern Uganda, also for northwestern part of the country, where we see the open colors right there of grey. That is indicative of sunny weather. Also for parts of eastern Lake Victoria Basin, Tororo, Jinja, Mbale, we are looking at mostly a sunny day for you. Soroti, Amuria, Apak, Padel, Gulu, Moroto, we are also starting off with quite a sunny morning, and most of that will also be continuing for much of the day. We go ahead and take a look at the forecast for this morning that is coming in from the Uganda National Meteorological Authority, and also take a look at what we expect in terms of temperatures for today. Starting off with the northern part of the country, that is the central area, where we are expecting a mix of clouds and sunshine, starting off quite hot at 31 degrees, and this is going to get hotter even in the afternoon because we do expect a continuation of sunny weather. The western parts of Lake Victoria, Masaka, Kalisizo, Zimbabwe and Rakai, we are forecasting isolated showers. Those will be coming in as the morning progresses, starting off with a pleasant 26 degrees. We also have areas of southwestern Uganda where we have Mbarara, Ibanda, Bushenyi and Ribirizi. We are forecasting isolated showers, and those will be going at a cool 24 degrees centigrade. We have Mount Elgon Highlands where we have Mbale, Bududa, Buko and Sironko. We are forecasting rainy conditions that will be across several places, also starting with a chilly 25 degrees centigrade. We do expect similar weather in the afternoon with rainy conditions. The eastern side of Lake Victoria, we're expecting rains to also develop later as we cross over into the afternoon. That will be across parts of Tororo, Busia, Iganga and Jinja, starting off with a pleasant 26 degrees for this morning. We look at eastern Uganda where we have Soroti, Katakwi, Amoria, Kumi. We also expect rains to develop later as the morning progresses. That will be across just a few areas, starting off with a warm 27 degrees centigrade, but later in the afternoon we do expect to have mostly sunny weather, and temperatures will be going up for most areas within that region. Looking at the eastern part of Central where we have Ruwero, Wobbly, Nsiburudi and Nakaseke, we're forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine for this morning, starting off with a warm 26 degrees centigrade. Across the central part of Lake Victoria, that is where we have Mukono, Kampala, Entebbe and Wakiso, we're forecasting large showers. Those will be coming in across several places within the area. The system is expected to cross over into the afternoon for most areas, and of course starting off with a pleasant 26 degrees centigrade. We do expect more rains to continue, especially for areas within the western sector and also parts of the Lake Victoria Basin. Otherwise, much of the country will continue with sunny weather, and temperatures are also expected to be equally high, especially for areas within the northern part of the country. Now that is it in terms of weather updates for this morning. My name is Mollen, Kenyena. I want to wish you a wonderful day.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Welcome to the Living Room Stadium. It's the FIFA World Cup. The match is about to start. Food and drink ready. There's no space left for anyone. Come on, get your lucky chair. Take your usual spot. Even the puppy has one. It's preparation time. can feel the tension in the air. And do you have everything you need to believe?
The Ministry of Health informs the public that there are confirmed cases of Ebola in Uganda. We, however, urge the public not to panic as the situation is being managed. The Ministry of Health further reminds the public to be on the lookout for any persons who may show signs and symptoms of Ebola. These include high body temperature, abdominal pains, diarrhea, vomiting, bleeding from the body openings such as the nose, eyes, and mouth. Please inform the nearest health worker immediately if you see anyone with these signs and symptoms. To prevent Ebola from spreading further, please take the following preventive measures: regular washing of hands with water and soap, avoid handshaking and hugging, avoiding any contact with any suspected Ebola patients. Any person who dies suddenly should not be buried but reported to the nearest health worker or LC1 immediately. For further information, please call the Ministry of Health toll-free number on 0800 100 066 or send a free SMS to your report on 8500. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and World Health Organization.
Happiness comes to us in many places. It's in knowing the mosquito net keeps our children healthy. The wife having the support of her husband. It's in deciding together when to have a baby. And for some, focusing on what's important right now. So what's your happiness? Make the right health decisions to ensure happiness for you and your family.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, and thank you so much for keeping with us here on UBC TV. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Now here we usually have a guest physically in studios, and later you're able to be part of the topic of discussion by simply going onto our WhatsApp number and send us a text message or a WhatsApp message. Now this morning, my guest is not physically in studios with me, but he's online, and we are going to be discussing very important issues. Recently, we've had so many concerns regarding human rights violation in this country. We've had alleged kidnaps, abductions, detention in illegal facilities, to mention but a few. Joining me this morning is Commissioner, Uganda Human Rights, that is Crispin Kaheru, who is online right from Mokono. Good morning, Crispin.
Good morning, UBC, and all the viewers and listeners as well.
Now, to begin with, when you talk about the Uganda Human Rights Commission, where you're a commissioner, what is your mandate?
First of all, let me explain this, that the Uganda Human Rights Commission is a constitutional body. It's an independent constitutional body established by the 1995 Constitution. And its establishment was in recognition of Uganda's history, the violent, turbulent history that had characterized the country in years before, where we used to see arbitrary arrests, detentions without trial, torture, brutal repression with impunity on the part of security organs, and so on and so forth. So because of that, the makers of the 1995 Constitution found it wise to put in place a permanent body that is going to continuously monitor the human rights situation of the country. So that lies at the core of our mandate. But very briefly, I can say that we have majorly 4 mandate areas. The first one is to receive and investigate human rights violations. The second is to visit and inspect places of detention. Thirdly, we carry out human rights education across the country. And then fourth and lastly, we monitor government's compliance with international treaty and convention obligations on human rights. So briefly, that's the Uganda Human Rights Commission.
Now, from your perspective, when you talk about respect to human rights and dignity, what could be your observation given the current allegations and, of course, counter accusations here and there?
Well, I want to say that the state of human rights in Uganda bears both challenges and achievements. We've made some progress in some areas, but there's also quite a number of challenges that we can list. But before I highlight the challenges, let me begin by explaining some of the strides that we have made so far. And especially, I think for me, this interview is very timely, considering the fact that on 10th December, that is this coming Saturday, we will be joining the rest of the world to commemorate the International Human Rights Day, which is the day that the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. So every year, this day is commemorated. And this year, we will be at Nakaoka Stadium in Wakiso district to commemorate that. So for me, I want to use this conversation to generally highlight some of the strides that we have made this year, but also the challenges that continue to show up as we work towards the progressive realization of human rights. First, I think we can say on one of the mandate areas that I mentioned to you in terms of monitoring government compliance with international treaty and convention obligations. Recently, Uganda actually appeared before the UN Convention Against Torture Committee in Geneva to be assessed on issues to do with torture and the fulfillment of the requests in that particular convention, called the Convention Against Torture. And much earlier on in the year, Uganda had been reviewed by the Universal Periodic Review, the UN committee that is in charge of reviewing human rights performance of member states every so often. And so in terms of fulfilling that part of the mandate, I think we've done well as a country to report and not just report, adhere and comply to the reporting responsibilities. So that's part one. But also part two that I would want to emphasize is that, the last 2-3 years have been very difficult years of pandemics. We came out of the COVID-19 with all its lockdowns. We went into the Ebola epidemic, and specifically in the districts of Mobende and Kasanda. And these have posed a great challenge, especially to the residents of now the 2 districts that are under a lockdown. And one of the things that we saw the last time we were under a lockdown as a country, the Uganda Human Rights Commission received quite a number of complaints from people. And these were complaints around harassment, around degrading treatment by security agencies who were enforcing lockdown. There were complaints from different quarters that, I think the enforcement of the lockdowns was too strict, and in some cases would violate people's rights. But what have we seen this time in the 2 districts that are under lockdown? I think we've realized that that there are not as many complaints as we received during the COVID-19 lockdown. In fact, for a fact, we have not received any complaints from Kasanda and Mobende on the enforcement of the lockdown. And for us, that's very encouraging to see that security agencies are observing human rights in the enforcement of the Ebola lockdown in the 2 districts. But nonetheless, as a commission, we're continuing to monitor the situation around the lockdown there until it is lifted. So that's also a plus. Thirdly, I'll speak about the issue of the allegations of missing persons that you have talked about.
Yes.
The allegations around
the drone issue, to be more specific. The alleged kidnaps, detaining people in illegal detentions, the Toyota PS, that has become a problem.
Now, yes, first and foremost, let me put a caveat that we see these things on the social media. We, in some cases, we've read reports in mainstream media, but we are also living in an era of fake news, misinformation, and disinformation. And therefore, as a commission, we exercise an abundance of caution every time we see information on social media that's pointing to these things. We don't disregard that information, but we take it through a vigorous high level of verification even before we commence investigations around these particular incidents. Now, for the information that we receive at the commission directly from complainants, we receive it very serious. We treat it with a certain level of confidence, and we pursue it with the seriousness that it deserves. Now, there have been all these allegations of missing persons who have allegedly been picked